Welcome to the Colonel Edmund Remy Gray Show. And if you are just joining me, I'd like to welcome you to this Sunday broadcast. And this is a once in a week broadcast, particularly on the Colonel Edmund Remy Gray Show. If you're just joining me, I'd like to welcome you. And I'll ask that you stay with me as I share this cast to a number of platforms we're streaming through right now. We're streaming through Facebook, we're streaming through Twitch, and also we're streaming through YouTube, even LinkedIn, Instagram, and so on and so forth. Again, welcome if you're just joining me, and I'll ask that you stay with me as I digress the issue that looms on my mind today, particularly for those who probably are joining me for the first time. I would like to welcome you and say, stay with me as I digress through a menace that is growing in the Liberian society of a single citizen. I like to admonish you that our war that devastated our nation started with one guy who probably felt that Liberia deserved more of the country than any other citizen. Some refer to that as narcissistic tendency, but I call that schizophrenia. And the reason why it's schizophrenic personality, it's because it is a destructive instinct that exists in our personality as individuals that is dominant. Every being is supposed to have multiple personality, but of the multiple personality, there are good and bad. The good personality should be the dominant personality. But for some, the most dominant personality is the destructive personality. The one psychoanalyst will refer to as Thanatos. The good one is the Theos. It's associated with God, reverence, good things. Destructive Thanatos is associated with for the religious for those who subscribe to religion or religionist, as we refer to them. It is Theos, 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 and Thanatos is what my broadcast will be today. It is the draw major instinct, Martin Luther King, for instance, will call it. Within the Liberian political cycle, there is one individual who seemingly is using broadcast platform to extort money from others, harass people, prey on individuals. Largely that's how he lives. He harasses you. It takes you, to broader platform where he ridicules you and then scare the hell out of you and then comes back and negotiate in return for cash. That individual is nobody but Henry Costa. I want you to please stay with me as I explain this phenomenon to you. That Henry Costa, the pagan who has decided to use social media and other media outlets to harass mafias, the quiet life of individuals who are only aspiring to their own individual ambition. That individual is what this broadcast is all about today. And I will tell you how Henry Costa has dual personality. The dominant personality of the dual personalities is the destructive personality. There's the good Henry, there's the destructive Henry. The destructive Henry outplays the good Henry. And so this is what this broadcast is all about today. I want you to stay with me as I share the broadcast. And I will explain to you in psychoanalytical terms what exactly I'm talking about. It may not make sense to you right now, but I want you to stay with me. Thank you so much for hanging in there. I digress through Okay, I'm back. This is, of course, Colonel Edmund Remy Gray, in case you're just joining me. I'd like to welcome you to my broadcast. Normally, I have made it my duty to come on only on Sundays. Okay, I'm back. This is, of course, Colonel. Hang on in a second. There's a restream, of course. Like I said, I'm restreaming to multiple channels, including Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. If you're on LinkedIn, I'm also there. Instagram, host of other platforms. Thank you so much for joining me. And today I'm going to be looking at a gentleman, a menace, who is rising up. And I hope my voice is audible enough. But there's a menace, a social menace, rising up in our political history. We may have locked up one individual who send our life into misery. Charles Taylor is. We locked him up through the international circle, and thanks to God for providing that opportunity, that a menace in society can be locked up, because those kinds of individuals, harass the peaceful coexistence of other individuals who have no clue, no part to play in our political fray, but they're just individuals who were born and have a right to live and breathe the blessings of the land to which they were born. These individuals have a domineering instinct. As I was saying previously in the intro of this telecast, that this individual called Henry Costa has decided to use the media to extort money from individuals. He uses the media to harass people, and he uses the media to follow his life cycle. Henry Costa is the nemesis. Well, I don't want to use the word nemesis, but he's the replica of a man named Charles Taylor. Charles Taylor, on the other side, may not have been using the media to get what he wants. He uses military might. He was able to destabilize our society that has been peaceful, or that was peaceful for a long time. The only time the Liberian society was disrupted was back in 1980, when a master sergeant in the Armed Forces of Liberia, from the Armed Forces of Liberia, shot his way through power. Ever since that time, we had a peaceful Liberia, sort of, until a gingerhead guy named Charles Taylor Kim from his subversive camp in Libya and Burkina Faso, used military might, invaded our country, and sent us helter-skelter. Our nation has not seen the quietness, the tranquility that it once enjoyed for over 130 to 140 plus years of existence. Ours, the Liberian Republic, is 173 years old. I want you to bear with me as I elucidate this menace called Henry Costa, how he's using social media to harass the life of individuals, extort money from them, and that's how he largely lives. And this individual, I want people to understand that he's an opposition within an opposition. So, those who will come up and say, but Henry Costa is fostering their opposition might or their ambition to harass the current government, I will ask them to rethink. Because, like every individual, we should have our own individual agenda. I agree. But when we have a society that is going down gradually, it's an us versus them situation. Majority of our Liberian folks believe that the country is going down because of the ruling establishment. But it even gets worse when those who disagree with how the country is being run, there is somebody within who disagree with all, simply because of his own personal aggrandizement. Somebody who thinks this is the time to encash out of every moment. I'll tell you what, the impeachment of Cabinet Janet, you understand, was possible through the extortionist means of Henry Costa. Joseph Boakai losing the election was through the extortionist Henry Costa. Madame Salif placed this extortionist Henry Costa on payroll all throughout the 12 years of existence. He wanted the same to transcribe, to carry on, to follow under the current administration of President Weah. Unfortunately for him, it started off, but it fell off. This is where his disagreement with President Weah lies. Now, his disagreement with other new prey that he's hoping to cash out of, people like Alexander Cummings. You know, Alexander Cummings may not appear to be a stout guy. He may not appear to be a stalwart. He may not appear, but people with smaller stature, they have bigger heart. They stand the tension of time. I can name you Marshal Tito. I can name you the 1945 menace called Adolf Hitler. These are not big stature guys. Even David, the king who brought Goliath, was not a big guy. People of that stature, they have bigger heart. They would not stand for bully. There must have been that tendency on the like of Alexander Cummings to rise up in a very Herculean, very huge organization like Coca-Cola. He brought his foolishness to Alex Cummings. According to him, Alex entered town, meaning the Republic of Liberia, has not consulted him. You know, you see how people can have this dominant instinct. Like I said, there are two instincts in every being, every normal being. Psychoanalysts will refer to those two instincts. One is theos, that is associated with the good gene, the good character, the one that is godly. And there's the thanatos, the destructive instinct, the one that is extremely destructive. Both genes, one can be dominant. For normal people, the dominant gene is the theos, the good gene. For the likes of Costa, the dominant gene is the destructive gene. Hang there with me as I play how Martin Luther King placed it cleverly. Listen to me. Listen to Dr. King. Just a minute.
Be supreme. Our nation must rule the world. This perverted use of the drum major instinct led to the most tragic prejudice, the most tragic expressions of man's inhumanity to man. And the sun doesn't happen to stop this trend. I'm sorely afraid that we won't be here to talk about Jesus Christ and about God and about brotherhood too many more years. If somebody doesn't bring it in.
I'm so sorry. It seems as though the audio part did not come out real earlier. So let me go back and replay exactly how Martin Luther King placed this dominant instinct in human being in our individual life cycle. Like I said earlier, there are two dominant genes within the individual characters, our traits, our way of life, the way we carry on, our psychological way of doing things. There are two dominant genes, the destructive one and the constructive one. Martin Luther King refers to the destructive one as the drum major instinct. That instinct that pushes you, to be first in everything you do. And let me let me go back and replay how Martin Luther King put it. That way we'll be able to go from here. Welcome to my broadcast. This is Colonel Edmund Remy Gray. And if you're just joining me, I'd like to welcome you and tell you that today I'm going to be looking at the destructive instinct of an individual who is rising as a menace within the Liberian society. We have locked one menace up, Charles Taylor. We have a rising menace, an individual who uses the media to extract money from an individual. He preys on the individuals to get money out of them. That's how he largely lives. Henry Costa lives in the United States now out of status. The destructive instinct actually severed his marriage with a lady he had as his wife. That destructive instinct was what actually separated their marriage. And this destructive instinct is why Henry Costa would not be able to to keep relationship with anybody. Whether it's the Yeke Koliba, whether it's the Thelia Ure, whether it's the Fadiga brothers, whoever he encounters, Henry Costa does not have a good instinct to keep relationship. But here's how Martin Luther King placed that. Welcome to this broadcast. Happy Sunday.
This morning I would like to use as a subject from which to preach the drum major instinct, a desire to be out front, a desire to lead the parade, a desire to be first. And it is something that runs the whole gamut of life. We all want to be important, to surpass others, to achieve distinction, to lead the parade. Alfred Adler, the great psychoanalyst, contends that this is the dominant impulse, this quest for recognition, this desire for attention, this desire for distinction is the basic impulse. And you know, we began early to ask life to put us first. Our first cry as a baby was a bid for attention. Children ask life to grant them first place. They are a little bundle of ego. Now, in adult life, we still have it, and we really never get by it. We like to do something good, and you know, we like to be praised for it. Now, if you don't believe that, you just go on living life, and you will discover very soon that you like to be praised. Everybody likes it, as a matter of fact. And somehow this warm glow we feel when we are praised or when our name is in print is something of the vitamin A to our ego.
Oh. I am so sorry. I think I may have done something to jeopardize this. Just a minute. Come on. Just a minute. Sorry, I may have yanked this the audio itself, and let me see if I can go back and try to re-cue. And so as I am sorting out the audio that was playing, Martin Luther King, in other words, was saying, I hope I'm being heard. Martin Luther King was saying that in our individual psychic, our way of life, there's a dominant gene, the drum major. He refers to it. The drum major instinct is that.
I'm going to continue to say it to America.
Listen.
Because I love this country too much to see the drift that it has taken.
All right. As I continue to sort things out, I would like to say that Liberia is a nation that has transgressed through a lot of acrimony, pandemonium, confusion, disagreement, and so on and so forth. We have fallen for 173 years as a nation. And the first 140 years was climaxed by stability, somehow for some. But there was quietly instability in the minds of, in the livelihood of many Liberians. Those referred to as the indigenous Liberians probably felt oppressed in a land where everyone should have equal access, equal opportunity. So Liberians in their mass came together in 1980 and oust the regime that was there, disadvantaging them. We were supposed to be a united nation thereafter. But no, we had disagreement because one group of individuals, quote unquote, who feels they should dominate the land.
I want you to say that
they should dominate the land.
Love and serve humanity.
Hang on a sec here. Let me see if I can go back and.
Them first place. This quest.
All right. Let us go back and retune Martin Luther King's way of putting this dominant instinct in our individual psychic.
The drum major instinct. A desire to be out front. A desire to lead the parade. A desire to be first. And it is something that runs the whole gamut of life. We all want to be important, to surpass others, to achieve distinction, to lead the parade. Alfred Adler, the great psychoanalyst, contends that this is the dominant impulse, this quest for recognition, this desire for attention, this desire for distinction is the basic impulse. And you know, we began early to ask life to put us first. Our first cry as a baby was a bid for attention. Children ask life to grant them first place. They are a little bundle of ego. Now, in adult life, we still have it, and we really never get by it. We like to do something good, and you know, we like to be praised for it. Now, if you don't believe that, you just go on living life, and you will discover very soon that you like to be praised. Everybody likes it, as a matter of fact. And somehow this warm glow we feel when we are praised or when our name is in print is something of the vitamin A to our ego. A need that some people have to feel superior. And I would submit to you this morning that what is wrong in the world today is that the nations of the world are engaged in a bitter, colossal contest for supremacy. I must be first. I must be supreme. Our nation must rule the world. This perverted use of the drum major instrument led to the most tragic prejudice, the most tragic expressions of man's inhumanity to man. And the sun doesn't have them to stop this trend. I'm sorely afraid that we won't be here to talk about Jesus Christ and about God and about brotherhood too many more years. Somebody done bring an end to this suicidal.
Well, at least you get the idea what Martin Luther King was saying, that there's a dominant impulse in every man. Matter of fact, that impulse started off when you were brought forth as a child into this world. Your first cry as a baby was a quest for attention, Martin Luther King would say. But that dominant instinct, that impulse, that we must be first, that quest to be for recognition, you understand, exists in your your growth as an individual, but we never really get to use it in our adult life. In other words, adults should stay away from this impulse of being first, because the world itself is not shaped that way. When an individual uses in the adult life the impulse of first, the quest to be recognized above everybody else, when you overuse that, in other words, you've gone back to the stage of a baby. The Liberian society, as I was saying earlier, saw a guy who had an impulsive way of looking at the issue. He felt the Republic of Liberia was his and nobody else but his. And that individual ended up being locked up. But you know, societies don't just lock bad people away and then other bad people stay away. They will rise up other bad individuals who rely on impulse to that quest for recognition, to demand above everybody else a bigger share of everything, if not even all. Such an individual, Taylor may have gone to jail, but we have another individual rising up in the Liberian epoch, and that individual is Henry Costa. Henry Costa was who started prosecuting Kabina Jane. He has a way of capitulating, he has a way of coming after you, and he capitulates after he gets his purse. He was behind. I want to tell you that I believe in my own wide awakening that Kabina Jane gave him money just to quiet him down. You know, this is how he preys on individuals to live his own life. It's a low life. There are two Henrys. There's the good Henry, there's the destructive Henry. The destructive Henry dominates the good Henry. So, seemingly, the good Henry does not even exist. And this individual, majority of the folks who subscribe to his philosophy believe that he has some leadership quality. You know, people like this, if we are going to be beaten, George, we are for converting public coffers, our wealth as a nation, to his own personal use, Henry will be worst. Henry does not have access much. That's why he's the way he is right now. And nobody should get fooled. Nobody should get fooled. He went after Kabina Jane, harassed him. Went after, got what he wanted. Went after Joe Buckeye. Joe Buckeye actually ended giving $50,000 to Henry Costa just to quiet him down. Then he capitulates. He flips. So Henry is wishy-washy. He will be for you. He will be against you. And then he turns around. Once he gets what he wants, he's for you. These are some of the dangerous individuals rising up in our political structure. And those who think that Henry Costa is a messiah of his own, I will ask you, I would admonish you to think again. Henry Costa is not a messiah. Henry Costa is his own man. He's his own opposition. He's against everything that exists. So when you're looking at the Liberian opposition, you should consider two extremes. There's the Henry Costa, who disagrees with everybody because his own personal quest must be achieved more than the personal quest of an entire nation. First, above all, $50,000. Henry was who was responsible largely for Joe Buckeye losing the elections. He poisoned the old man. Then after getting his first $50,000, he capitulated, he flips. And he brought this nonsensical theory called Ojolobo. You rather drink the Ojolobo. You know, this is how it goes. He flips first after let's go back to the Kabina Jane trial. After he got what he wanted, he needed some promotion. Kabina Jane needed some public awareness so people can, to razzmatize public opinion against the ruling establishment that was trying to prosecute him or oust him from the Supreme Court. So he needed a voice, a skillful voice in the media that will twist public opinion in his favor. That is where he came in. I am not sure how much Henry cashed from that endeavor. And then Henry flipped. I got the video. I'll play it. He goes like, well, I was against Kabina Jane trial from the beginning. Whenever you hear Henry talks that way, it means he has been paid. He has cashed out. He has preyed on his victim sufficiently, and those individuals have felt intimidated and called him and gave him his purse. That's how he lives. He carried that same cold attitude against Madame Sirleaf. Harass Madame Sirleaf, she wants to maintain her accolade as a Nobel Peace Prize individual. So therefore you have to, that's a bigger quality to maintain. One crazy guy who just needs 5,000. I'm the chief of state. I can pretty much sanction that 5,000 monthly to go to Henry. Henry has run his course. Henry Costa, you understand, cannot see this government in power eye to eye because this government has failed to settle with him. They started off. Don't get me wrong. They started off. When you see Henry saying that I'm going to be supporting this President Weir, for until he does certain things that I'm not pleased with, those are all behind the scene excuses. Those are behind the scene excuses, excuse me. What he meant is that until he can come through to sustain me, Henry Costa, until he can come through or until he can sustain me, Henry Costa, I will be against him. One of the things he started off doing, hang on a second, I got a call coming through. Hello. Hello. Man, the general doing live. I'm on live and not much. I will call you as soon as I'm done. Yeah, I'm doing live right now. Thank you. All right, Chief. All right. So I do apologize. That was a call that was coming through, and I'm not ready to take calls right now. But that was a special individual told me. And the Liberian society is gifted with so many individuals who have the ability to express themselves. And Henry Costa is one guy who probably has been gifted. But when you use that gift in a destructive way, you use the instinct. There are two major psycho instinct that psychoanalysts have come to prism to view the human being, our existence, our biological way, our way of doing things, the way we think, the way we process information, the way we react. They have categorized that into two instincts. One is thanatos, which is the destructive one, the one that makes nobody else mean anything to you but you. Everything about you is what matters. All the rest mean nothing. I know majority will say, but why is this guy going after Henry Costa? And then there's this theos. That's the good instinct, good and bad. Our individual psychic, our mentality, our biological move, you understand, are controlled by those two instincts. Theos, good, godly. Thanatos, satanic, ugly, bad. I was just saying that one would say, but why is this guy going after Henry Costa? Henry Costa can be placed in the category of George Weah. They are their own battle crier. They care for nobody else. You see, when people are saying that Henry Costa has a relationship with Bernard Ure has been intimidated enough by this young man. Intimidated enough. Because this is how Henry lives. This is how Costa carries on his life. He preys on individuals who are intimidated and in turn give him money to quiet him down. Oh, you know, that's the Al Capone-ish life. That's the way mafias back in the days live. This is an extortionist that you're looking at. And you know, and one of the best things that happened to the Republic of Liberia, we may not like President Weah for who he is, because he himself is converting Liberian wealth to his own personal use. And you will barely find a Liberian who does not have that tendency to convert our private purse, our public purse, to their private use. You will barely. Bear with me. Bear with me. When you see me coming after Henry Costa, is because I have categorized Henry Costa in line with George Weah. They are the same individual, but two opposite ends. One is trying to outcompete the other. Then there's the bulk of Liberians who mean well. The bulk of our nation mean well for that country. There are individuals who belong in pockets, in different groups, that exist only for their own self-aggrandizement. Henry Costa is not part of the opposition community. Never consider him that way. You may be afraid that Mr. Weah will go on leading us perpetually for probably the next additional 6 years, which will be 12. But I can tell you, it is better to be 12 years under an individual like George Weah than to be 1 year under a pariah like Henry Costa. Here's why I say this. And I know it would not be possible, given the dismal performance of the George Weah's administration for Liberians, unless they rig the election, for Liberians to go back and re-vote him a second time. It will be extremely difficult. The reason it will be difficult is because this moment will perpetuate themselves. In other words, the misery of Liberians, what they're going through now, the hardship and all of that will not improve, because the administration of George Weah has a personal agenda that does not encompass all Liberians. It is a small clique, a small group of individuals. They are no different from the pre-1980 group who were there catering to their own well-being. They're not different from any other group that have existed that cater only to a small group. We have to have a group that will cater to the larger majority. And that's the struggle. And for certain, Henry Costa is not part of that. The reason I say Henry Costa is not part of that, when we cry today, the only voice we have in the House of, in the Supreme Court, Kabina Jane, who was his own man, the guy who will sway the vote, the dissenting judge. Henry Costa, because of his own personal aggrandizement, harassed that guy, harassed him. When the trial started, the impeachment trial, Henry Costa bitterly preached against Kabina Jane. He went in employing falsehood, marvelously used it in the press. He got called out, he got paid, and then he flips the switch. Wishy-washy, flip-flop, flip the shit. Well, I was against Kabina Jane, but now beginning to see. I said it earlier that when Henry Costa began to sound conciliatory, he has been paid. But let me go back to Joe Buckeye. Ambassador Buckeye actually was considered in the 2017 election as the guy who largely was used by Madam Sirleaf. Another selfish pariah. And Madam Sirleaf used the old man Buckeye to gain own personal agenda, to carry on, Madam Sirleaf lived at the caprices of the old man Buckeye. Buckeye was marvelously loved by certain people because they felt he was just this guy who was used. And so sympathy was going to step in his favor. But Henry Costa wanted to get paid. Henry Costa took on single-handedly to destroy old man Buckeye. When I say our opposition is divided into two, is split into two, there is the Henry Costa, there is the general opposition. These are the individual general opposition want to see a better Liberia. They want to be there for Liberia to be one of the most marvelous countries that they can ever live in because it's theirs. Liberians are jealous about seeing our country becoming very prosperous, very successful among nations. That's how we grew up seeing our country to be. We were first among most. But old man Buckeye chances were dwindled down by Henry Costa because he needed personal press. He needed something out of this whole process. When we get into election, Henry is confused because the destructive Henry will prevail over the good Henry. You understand? When you wake up, Martin Luther King, I would like to quote him again, will refer to dual personality where the dominant gene is the destructive gene as schizophrenic personality. It is multi-personality disorder. Psychiatrists will call that. You understand? People who have mental problems because they hear voices. The dominant voice speaks to those individuals and sort of make them destructive. They will get up, go to bed peacefully and wake up the next day and say, a lot of people against me. People against me because they're against me. Why are they against me? I will use everything possible because the destructive gene is what shows up most of those kinds of individuals in their lifetime. People are always against them. They will make situation out of nothing. Remember, we had a unifying force, opposition force that were moving in one trajectory. They have come together, people who could not see eye to eye. Because I remember back in 2017 when a group of senators had gone to endorse Omer Buckeye because they had seen that he was going to be the next guy, at least that will rescue our nation. Benanayure was vehemently opposed to that. He was one of the individuals who badmouthed that whole process. You understand? He badmouthed that entire process, that the senators don't know what they were doing. They were out of their mind. And he said quite a bit of anti-rhetorics against the entire process and killed the momentum that Buckeye was building. The old man was really bringing forces together during the 2017 election. And then because Henry Costa and Benanayure our friends in bed, Henry Costa took on single-handedly the old man. He has a large following. He has a large listening audience. He damaged that brand. He destroyed it. He capitulates because he got $50,000 to come back now and put damage control in motion to sort of change the public opinion. Normally it's late. Firstly, people will not take you seriously. This was an individual who just few hours ago, the destructive Henry Costa was lampooning the old man. And then few hours later, he flipped the switch. Dangerous individual. Crazy man. A man who does not even have the slightest empathy for anybody's desire but his. 50,000 was given to him to quiet him down. By the time he could come back, the old man had lost grounds. The old man had lost ground. And he tried to see if he could, carry on a payoff scheme when the Cape Mount elections came. I'm for Mabandi, the lady who was there. But this was not the leading candidate there. But he was there. Now he behaves as though he supports the old man Buckeye. No, Henry Costa does not support Buckeye. He has cashed out of Buckeye. So he feels that the election Buckeye lost was partly to him. So what is he trying to do? He's trying to see if he can mend fences temporarily. But the dominant Henry will always rise up because, number one, Henry is in this country because of that same dominance, destructive gene, that crazy Henry. He lost a beautiful relationship he had with a woman. If a woman does not want to have anything to do with a man whom she mothered a child with, there's something much more deeper. Majority of the people who take on to see Henry Costa believe that this guy, you understand, has what it takes for any woman to like him. But no, the destructive Henry will never keep relationship. The reason why Yeke Coliba left Henry Costa is because of that destructiveness. Coliba, one or two intelligence filtering that, of course, Costa siphoned the money they collected in that COP. Siphon. Whether that's the same reason why Tilia left, because she does not want to be associated with any corruptive attitude. She left. People are thinking that Henry Costa takes on the air with one way. The day I take over this country, I would do this, I would do this. If Henry Costa can go after smaller money like this to destroy an entire republic from having a very good candidate as Joe Buckeye, Henry Costa will do anything to get his quest met. Henry Costa, the money COP had, he siphoned all. That was the same reason why the Fadiga brothers left. I like to tell people that Costa was not the founder of COP. He was nowhere around. He had no idea. Never was even closer to the founding of the COP. Because of his skill in the press, people like the Fadiga brothers, people like even the guy who is now the ICOP, the Independent Council of Patriots, these people left. Even our own Muna Farhat was part of that. She left. Henry Costa, the dominant Henry Costa, came in, bamboozled everybody, bully everybody, push people around, get hold of the finances. He was even calling around for people who were receiving cash through Cash App for as little as $40, $50. Hey, my man, I saw $50 going in the account there. Send it to me. He get all of that money. According to what I'm hearing, he has filtered, people who think that Henry Costa is the guy who will liberate our country from George Weah. I would tell them Henry Costa is no asset to our opposition plight. Henry Costa will single-handedly make us to lose the election to George Weah. And I can tell you that Henry Costa will continue to foster his quest to become rich through his skill in the press. And that dominant instinct will stifle him from even thinking rationally to making Liberians to have their wish or their aims and caprices, met through the election of a very good candidate. Now, Liberians are generating, they're trying to put their lives together. They've seen that George Weah is no good. This is not the kind of leadership Liberians want to count on. As a result, Liberians are looking for a nesting place, a place to rest. And you have this guy who has this marvelous skill in talking, has cajoled a group of individuals. You understand? Let me take this call. I'm not sure why this guy keeps calling me. Hold on. I'm not sure why. Killable, I'm live, so let me let you know. For I can comment on that on live. All right, I will take your call later, but not now. Not now.
Okay, I'm watching it because I want to join this debate now. The manner in which you're going on Henry Costa, I'm going to join this debate.
You join the debate, but not now, sir. Thank you. So, these are the individuals who think that Henry Costa is the guy who will rescue the moment. Henry Costa does not have any ambition to rescue the opposition plight from the eagle hands of George Weah. Henry Costa has a bigger clause, even bigger than George Weah. Let me let you know. And, people who come like the killable gonglos who will come after you because they feel that this is the only route out. Look, I would tell them to go back and do their own study. I studied tactics in the military. I studied the psychological way of thinking of the opposition, people who will destroy you in a second. That was what I did. Psychological warfare. That was my MOS. When I went to the Marine University, the U.S. Marine University, that was what I did. When I went to Fort Leavenworth, that was what I did. When I went to China, psychological warfare was my basis. I went to Taiwan, not mainland China, but Taiwan. I went to War College there. I went to War College in South Africa. That was my MOS, to study the psychic of the opposition. Somebody who would destroy your unit, somebody who would dislodge you. So when I came back home, I was teaching soldiers how to be committed to a cause, how to be loyal to the Republic. So I got my own differences with people there because they felt that I was being more political, because the average soldier before the war could not understand certain principle of military operation. That's why I would feel so dismally with human right, because most people did not know how to balance human right versus enemy right. They will capture the enemy and serve them. The military way of life, you capture your enemy, you provide them sanctuary. You protect people who have nothing to do with the war. Women and children, the old, the elderly. These are all provided for within functional military operations. So when I did psychological warfare, my focus was to have soldiers committed to the cause of defeating the enemy. How to identify the enemy. In this, our fight, our quest against George Weah, I can tell you, there is another quest we should be looking out for, the Henry Costa quest. Because Henry Costa will go after anybody who is rising up to lead the battle against George Weah. He has now seen that Mr. Cummins is getting audience, he's getting traction, he's going on. Firstly, let me tell you something. The dominant instinct of this Henry Costa made him to go after someone like Sekou Kone, who is trying to build a platform. He's gaining momentum. This business of broadcasting takes indelible patience. You have to be committed. You have to be consistent. come on a daily basis, and you begin to build up your following gradually. The reason some of us have been doing it for so long but don't have as much audience is because we're not consistent with coming out. But this is a cause that will get me consistent. The cause to eliminate any Costa from our bracket. Majority of the people have gone around and see that, they're even talking about COP political organization. But I will tell you why COP will never work. It will never work. People who are forming chapter, they're forming this, it will never work. Because you know what? If a man can use the press to suppress, to stifle, to hijack, to stampede the ambition of individuals who have the right to have an ambition as well, there's no way COP will work. And people are looking at COP, they are wondering why Celia left, why Caliber left. Matter of fact, let me tell you, of his own, Henry Costa would not be able to galvanize the kind of attention that he galvanized, especially December 19 when he entered Liberia, if there were not a Caliber. I mean, what's his name? Yeke Caliber. Yeke is the groundwork guy. That's the kind of guy that you want in your corner. He's a mobilizer. There are certain individuals who have skills that you may not have. You may have all the talking skills, but you don't have the ability to mobilize. Yeke leaving the COP is a blow. And I tell you, nobody will gravitate around Henry Costa and stay there, because Henry Costa is a destructive gentleman. He's only concerned about what benefits Henry Costa. When he came to the United States many years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, now how could somebody be pursuing a bachelor's degree 5-6 years? He does not have the finances to go to school. He had married this Italian Liberian girl to probably get his status straightened. The destructive Henry Costa, kind of hustled this girl away from him. I mean, the girl does not want to even live closer to Henry Costa. She's gone far. Matter of fact, there are rumors that she even associated with people like that's high place rumor. The mayor Koji. But those are rumor. But I want to believe that this is a quality girl who has seen herself that what type of mistake did I make in life? But a woman can make mistakes. Sometimes it can be costly, especially when there's a child involved. There's a child involved now between this lady and Henry Costa. So therefore, in no uncertain time will this lady ever go apart from Henry. But the destructive Henry will always come back to make things worse. When Alexandra Cummins entered the Republic of Liberia to run, Henry is angry that Alexandra Cummins did not go and see him. You understand? Henry did not go and see him. When we say see him, it means he has not gone to buy his own share from Henry coming at him. That has been the bone of contention. And people like, I was saying, small stature people like Cummins, those are the kind of generals you want. Alexander the Great was not a big guy. Adolf Hitler, who menaced the world to almost to its feet, was not a big stature guy. You can name some of the King David was not a big stature guy. You see the picture between him and Goliath. He was a little guy. But these are the individuals with bigger minds. Size does not matter, but mind matters. You understand? So Alex went to town, and Alexander Cummins is not a guy you can bully. He has his own way. We disagree. On most times I disagree because I feel he too is trying to build around his stature. But you know what? Sometimes people have to build around their stature to be able to take control of the moment. Our Liberian opposition quandary is extremely cumbersome. There are so many contending individuals who are there trying to get their own way for their own selfish gains. There are many individuals around political opposition cycle who are looking at being the next George Weah that will build a consortium of roguish individuals that will haul our money, our finances, our personal coffers to their own personal individual use. There are so many Liberians who are jealously looking at being that brand of George Weah right now. The bulk of our opposition against George Weah stems from that. And seemingly, this man named Henry Costa is who probably people feel will only rescue the moment. But I can tell you what, there are some of us who, if we take on this on a regular basis, we will be able to build a following that will be even be larger because we have more depth, we have more education, we're not circumguessing. And let me go back to that issue about Henry Costa coming here 5-6 years ago to pursue a bachelor's degree, but is struggling. And the way he wants to pay his way through college because he does not have status is extorting money from other individuals. When Cummings went, his bigger, he was hoping to cash out of Alexander Cummings. The reason why he had made this declaration against Alexander Cummings, when Henry Costa, I'll play the video. When Henry Costa goes to work and say, they are against me, that destructive Henry Costa now, who is saying that the entire society, that lunatic Henry Costa, because you know what? You have to have the mentality to be able to say that people are never against me, so I will prosper in the midst of competition. But when you're destructive, when you're crazy, when you have schizophrenic personality, when you have dual personality that is destructive, when the dominant gene is thanatos, such individual will always think society is against them. Remember, we were trying to foster a collaboration with other political organizations. You understand? This guy has gone to work and said, anybody that is against him, you understand, he will go against. You don't expect Henry to go against Benona Uriel. Of course not. You don't expect that he was talking to Omer Buckeye, who was giving him $50,000 to quiet him. You don't think that he's talking about against the slain or the late Brumskin. Neither is he talking about the political leader now. I mean, the leader now of Liberty Party, Yumli Kanga. He's not talking about any of those three individuals. His focus is Alexandra Cummings. Majority of our people are looking up now that at least the ANC through Alexandra Cummings is something, they have it in the corner. They might not have turned wholeheartedly to the ANC, but they're looking at Cummings. They're sizing him up. This guy has taken and made a clear declaration that he will. Number one, Henry claims to be a founder of the Alternative National Congress. I'll tell you what. Henry did not even have the skill to write his own paper, let alone be policy guy for the founding of the Alternative National Congress. When we came in 2012, at the dawn of the ANC, Henry Costa had left because you know what? Such an endeavor does not produce money for Henry Costa to line his pocket, or just group of guys just dreaming big, talking plenty, and so therefore that's not his nest. Those are not the kind of green pasture Henry will waste his time behind, because you know what? To him, money not coming out of that. You're trying to put organization together in a cash app, no cash app, there was no way to collect money, no PayPal, no whatever means they have to collect money, where he will preside as the chairman over those kinds of endeavor. None of that was coming through the ANC. So the ANC was just a flimsy start. But a group of people who believed that there was the need to change the political culture of Liberia. There was the need for us to begin to look at practical way. A leaderless organization, an organization that will not revolve around one person. So majority of Liberians that started off the ANC had that good intention. They were well-intentioned people. Our culture is so cruel, such that if you build an organization and then there's not an individual that Liberians amass can look within and say, I think that's because of that guy the ANC exists. It will be very difficult because it will be like a utopian way of thinking. You have to bring an individual in the middle that people can relate to. Relate in the sense that they will be able to narrow the political organization to that individual. We had some good people who joined us. Some very good people. People were coming. Even the SAE, all those people were calling us. Some good guys were calling us. They wanted to come and be part of this. But you know, as time went by, there was this guy named Alexander Cummings who called us. He called us. And people are going with the belief that Alex spent money buying the ANC, put money in people's pocket. Not to my knowledge. And among some of the skills I acquired as a military guy was to have trained with Mossad. Mossad is his Israeli spy unit. And all throughout my endeavor in the AFL before the war, I worked with the intelligence unit, the G2. And I went to other schools too to do intelligence, counterintelligence, counterinsurgency, all this kind of studies I did. So if I'm in an organization, nobody will creep over my head and I don't have a clue. That mean no need for me to even be referring to myself in military terms. So I'm very alert. I'm very acute because one of the things I watch out for is my character. Whenever I'm within an organization, I may not be the largest funder. I may not be the individual who comes with the biggest purse. But I'm the individual who will contribute to the idea, the body of knowledge that will be developed within such an organization, and I'll be the individual that will suggest a lot of good things to be done. But I'm always careful with operations that involve collection of money, because this is where you can easily ruin your own credibility, your character. When Alexander Cummings came in, he may have given money because we individually, as an entity, were putting money together almost every month to fund our different offices around Liberia, the country. We have 15 political subdivisions. And for some reason, we had established a base in each county or each political subdivision. So sustaining those bases require money. So we're putting money together. Almost every month we're sending money there. There were reports of miscalculation of money and so on, but misappropriation. But you cannot accuse people simply because that is the Liberian way of doing things. The moment someone presides over collective money, the first thing people will say, he eating our money, he's a rogue, he's stealing. So, but we for some reason were able to fund as a group to our own money that will pay monthly the various political subdivision bases, headquarters we had around the country. And Alex came. One of the first things he did, I understand, was to sustain that effort. He just gave his own contribution. I'm the latecomer here, so you guys have been doing a tremendous job, but here is something to help towards that. And then he made some promises. But to say Alex put money in people's pocket, no. If that were the case, Mr. Councillor Kwame Clement could not have gone to work with USAID if you were so wealthy. I can tell you that if anybody had gone to take over CDC, it would cost them no less than $5 to $10 million. We're not stupid to say somebody came and then they accusing that people got money out of the process, and yet people are still working, looking. Councillor, Gould, Lafayette Gould, Horatio Gould, who some are accusing of cashing out of this process. Horatio Gould works with the office of the Solicitor General right now. He could not have cashed out of that process from Alexander Cummings and go work for George Weah's government. Hell no. Who else? Every day, Councillor Kwame Clement, you understand? A decent man, very decent man. By the way, the first call I received was from him because we talk on a daily basis. Apparently, he was trying to tell me to not to do this. But I can tell you what, I was one of the only Liberians from the University of Liberia with all the promise and the brighter future who found himself in the AFL, was ready from day one to fight Charles Taylor. Because when a Liberian shows up and thinks that the country belongs to him and him alone more than any other individuals, they have some of us to contend with. And I'm telling you, who watching me today from the comfort of your home, that Henry Costa will not be left alone, because Henry is not beneficiary to the opposition community. He's a destroyer. He's an individual who is there for his own personal aggrandizement. He's not there for the collective benefit of all Liberians. So you must watch out. Those who think they're forming chapters now and this and that, and we will continue to make our research. If you follow Henry Costa, the destructive Henry Costa's life, from which mission he came from, whether it's Ricks or Lakeri, where he was expelled. By the way, he's not a bright guy academically. You know, let me tell you how people like Henry Costa survive. They read a small chapter, they kind of memorize that chapter, just a little bit, goes on the air, and his first reference will be that chapter he has read. So you hear him quoting other individuals, other great writers, other great philosopher, other great individual, people who have political history. He quotes them because that is his theme for that day. He studies like a pastor going to preach, and he studies the book that he's going to preach on. The book of James, for instance. He reads about James, and then he goes on to take on James on the pulpit. You think he's this marvelous guy who understands biblical. He's a biblical scholar, someone who has the ability to actually expose, to some extent, elaborate. Then you say, wow, that is called target studying. In other words, you just go and read a small chapter. The actual Henry Costa is not an academic. And I hear people trying to quote him and Martin Luther King. They are far apart. Martin was an academic. He had a PhD, by the way. Henry Costa does not even have an associate degree yet. He's struggling. He has not even read in depth. Some of the stuff he quotes, you can, if you're knowledgeable, you see he struggles. He has not read enough. But he has been able to cajole the Liberian community, because we are up for grab. Our Liberian psychic, our mentality, our community is extremely vulnerable. Anybody can come out and pretend to be a messiah, and then it will begin to build a larger following. And only for that individual to demonstrate, to orchestrate himself after power shall have reverted to them. And this is exactly what Henry Costa is. Right now, his target is not only George Weah, but anybody who will rise up more than him. The dominant instinct, the John Major instinct would kick in. I am doing this because I am going to be doing series of research on him. I doubt if he's in school right now, because when school was about to reopen, Henry Costa mounted pressure against Alex Cummings, because to him, by then, Alex would have fallen prey, called him, put some money in his pocket. He was going to use that to pay his tuition. I understand his former wife also has bigger taste. And he's trying to win her back over. So all of this endeavors right now, probably that's why he has depleted the money that was in his control for COP. People have left. And rest assured, you will hear from Yeke Oliver. He will tell you exactly why he left the COP. He did not leave because he and Costa could not see eye to eye. No. Yeke Oliver left probably for his own credibility. People like Yeke, you may see them like, they have done their own things, but some people may appear that way, but they have a bigger and better principle. Yeke Oliver will come out in the future to tell Liberians exactly why he left COP. You will hear it. And I can tell you that among the stuff he will list will be because of misappropriation of money by Henry Costa, who has a bigger taste. Yeah, he goes to Marshall, he goes to TJ Maxx, and he buys those salvage T-shirts and stuff that some damage in transit, people factory damages and so on. So he appears behind the microphone and the camera as someone well dressed. You understand? Anybody can live that life. Henry does not have the ability to even work in this country. From what I have heard, he's been kicked from one place to the other because you know what? Us Liberians, you can't live in my basement or my house and then you talk big talk, then you don't translate that into contributing to the well-being of my house where you live. So he's going in circle, and people don't know that side of him. They don't know. They think Henry Costa is who will deliver Liberia from George Weah. No. If you expel Henry Costa, I can tell you, the next man to focus would be Benani Ure, because Benani Ure is the kind of guy who thinks. Charles Taylor talked about him. I've read some text. I've read conversation by Taylor about how very treacherous Benani Ure is. Benani Ure is another Costa. They have this destructive instinct in them. It's only them. You understand? So such a man will never collaborate with anybody. Like I said, he was against, meaning Ure was against the old man Buckeye. Old man Buckeye, when people in the Senate came together and said, this is the guy we want to support, I think 19 or so senators left the Senate, went to him, declared a pledge for his for his ambition to be president of the Republic of Liberia. Madam Salif had used him enough. Madam was beginning to be displaced out of her own game because the old man was gaining so much momentum, so much attention. And I could always say Alex Cummings was a newcomer then. That was 2 years or 3 years ago. He was a newcomer then. So naturally Liberians were comfortable with the old man who has been there, who has been the quiet face behind the scene, who was the cart that pulled, the horse that pulled the Ellen cart for many years, but himself was maltreated. So Liberians in their own endeavors have felt sorry for him, that this was the kind of guy that you want to reward power to, because they have a reason to hold on to power. Because he has not shown any desperation, he has been obedient, he has been very collaborative. And such an individual, of course, could win the hearts and minds because of his own humility, the minds of Liberians. So he was posed to be the next natural leader that people were going to elect. Henry Costa single-handedly brought the chances of this old man down to the ground. When he was stepping over it, he went and cashed out $50,000 they gave him. I want him to come back and tell me I'm lying. $50,000 he collected from Omer Buckeye. With that money, he was able to capitulate, come back, try to see if he can resurrect the campaign of Omer Buckeye. It was late. Liberians have had their mind made up, because one of the voices they listened to had lampooned the old man. Then he came with this foolishness of a jolobo, the bitter medicine that she must swallow. Because in this, he wanted between George Weah and Omar Buckeye. He wanted George Weah to give him money. The Weah campaign would not give him a cent. Buckeye was who gave him 50, so he capitulated to begin to now sustain the campaign of Buckeye. It was late. This is the kind of individual we have in our midst, and people are pouring into his cast. Whenever some folks will say, "Oh man, you jealous like him? You can't be like him." Look at that's the childish way of exposing in our Liberian mentality. And I can tell you what, the bulk of our system like that is because mentally most of us are not developed. We're not able to look at dissent and hold on to it and say, yes, there is disagreement, there is sense in the disagreement. We shallow and narrow it down to jealousy, envy, these kinds of things. You must be jealous of someone who has the capacity as you. I can be jealous over Henry Costa, who has not even acquired a bachelor's degree. We're not in the same league. We're not. He goes around masquerading, perambulating as this academic. I bet him. Put him and I in a corridor. I'm a soldier boy, but put him and I in a podium of academic discourse, and see how we dismantle him gradually, because he does not have the capacity. He talks. Well, majority of what he espouses, shallow. But you have to have the orientation to be able to pick out some of the flaws. I'm trained for that. Academically, militarily, politically, anyway, maturely, I'm older than him. Could be my son. But when an individual such as him will take on to destroy the good works, the ambition of an entire nation, age does not matter. Age does not matter. I bet Adolf Hitler was not the oldest German to destroy the German people. To go after a generation of Jews, 6 million, history accounted for, that he put an end to. Such an individual, you don't think about age. You consider them to be a guillotine, an enemy that you must try to put down at all means. In that endeavor, I'm coming out in my own capacity to go after Henry Costa and make sure that we put an end to him. And I will continue to make research on him. I will firstly would like to know why he could not sustain his relationship with his wife, even though I have what we call some on the surface information. I will tell you his own citizenship rights to Liberia, because Henry Costa's father is a Portuguese, it's a white man. Our laws demands that at the age of 18 you should have declared your citizenship. And if you did not declare at age 18, you are presumed to have taken the identity of your natural father. We're not a jus sanguine. Jus sanguine, it's a blood relationship. Yes, he's a Liberian. He has the opportunity to have seized Liberian citizenship through the birth of his mother, a natural born Liberian. But our law is not jus sanguine or jus sanguinis. Our law falls beyond that. Our law demands that in order to claim Liberian citizenship, if one of your parents is Caucasian, especially your father, our laws are not based on your mother's nationality. It's based on your dad. So if his father was not a Liberian and he was born to a Liberian mother, he should claim Liberian citizenship, but must first declare his father's, renounce his father's identity. We have to see papers that Henry Costa has done that. As a result, people are galvanizing that if he goes to register any political organization, he has to prove that in a court, that he has entitlement to Liberian citizenship. And that you know, I like the law because the law can take up any foolishness and you'll gain momentum. So let him be running around COP. COP is not a registered party. I know if it's going to be registered now under George Weah, they should just forget about that. Because this guy has damaged all his relationship with people who supposed to be his natural ally. You know, out of nowhere came Henry Costa in 2018 or so when he started going against Alex Cumming. They were fostering a union through the CPP. And one crazy guy, a schizophrenic personality, Costa, started going against. I would destroy any opposition. I would destroy, you know, that vaingloriousness kicked in. That destructive Henry shows up. And he took that vow. Just last Thursday or so, he came up with another broadcast, reaffirming that commitment to go against people who don't like him. People who don't like him. Because the destructive instinct is very acute. Out of nowhere, they would think people are forming conspiracy against them. And there'll be a big old outburst. I will play that video so you can take a look at it and see exactly who do you think Henry Costa was referring to when he made that video. Who do you think he was referring to? For whom was Henry speaking? Hold on a second. Let's see if we can go to my presentation or presentation room. Hold on a sec here. And you know, I will continue to admonish people who think that this would destroy the opposition chances of going against winning any election against George Weah. I will tell you, hold on, help is on the way. Once we begin to rectify some of these looser screws within our own opposition bloc, we'll begin to forge ahead as one entity with one simple goal. And I believe if we have a resolute opposition, we can win the election against George Weah. We cannot have looser screws like the Henry Costa. I still believe that Benani is not a plus to the CPP. He's the one single guy who's pushing Henry Costa because this is how he will exalt himself as the leader. So if you ask me, I'll say get rid of Benani, quiet Henry Costa down, and bring in somebody else. That is a CPP. That's a collaboration of political organizations. There are lots of organizations out there that you need to bring in that circle. We were 26 political parties that contested the presidential elections in Liberia. 26. So if you take 4 plus George Weah and it's probably 2 or 3, we're looking at in excess of maybe 8 or 9. The rest are up for grabs. And you know, people will say, "Oh, those parties, they are limited. They don't have the kind of following that you think." If you think that the unpredictable PYJ will continue to be in George Weah's collaboration, I would say think again. Yes, he's unstable. He has his own destructive instinct. He has a 2 characters, a 2-level characters like Henry Costa, the destructive one and the constructive one. The destructive one in PYJ is domineering as well. And so, but remember, the organization that he controls has a very larger following. And forget about morality. If I join a political party, you don't judge the morality of my leader to be mine. That's collective guilt. civilized societies don't operate that way. But let me go back and look for this Henry Costa's rubbish that he said the other day, and tell me, for whom was he speaking? Hang on a sec here, let me see. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining me, thanks for watching me. This is the Colonel Edmund Remy Gray Show. And today I'm looking at a menace that is surfacing in the Liberian political atmosphere. A menace like Charles Taylor, Henry Costa is called, and that individual is single-handedly dividing the opposition community against a united front to take on a destructive government that is ruling our nation currently. And that destructive government is led by nobody but George Weah. Now, people are so desperate to see a replacement of the George Weah administration that they will support anything that seemingly speaks against George Weah. But let us be careful what we wish for, what speaks against the evil that we have. That evil that speaks against the evil we have could be greater evil than the evil that we have right now. And that greater evil is nobody but Henry Costa. That is the greater evil we have now. But I'll continue to look for this video, and I need to look for it because we are not going to let some. Let me give you music first.
Let's stop the hate. Pushing fake messages. Let's stop it on money. Yeah. Well, I Liberia, overseas. You print the up on your black. You feel style on social media. You are welcome. On a money blackout. Messages you preaching, you don't do it to the blackout, you do it to the people, the poor people, the people you claim to love, the people you want to rule. That it work out, that on a money wreck out, that it still work out, what on a money blackout, yeah before, yeah, that it work out, that on a money wreck out, that it still work out. One another, encouraging others for our country need. We should go and demonstrate. You will be there. Demonstrate, yeah. Let me ask you, where out when we for our country, who will help us cancel? They say no, where out, say no. When you bring out a hand, who will help us settle? They say no, where out, say no. Making sure to gain power. We not yet for like kind of flower. Where can get black out a chance? We are one. We are one. Get president, we are the chance. We are one. We are one. Can't you see? He's very rose. We are one. We are one. He's building hospital. We are one. We are one. Take a look at the estates he's building. We are one. We are one. Say nothing, we get you Mediterranean hospital. We are one. We are one. Say nothing, we just in new market. We are one. We are one. Build new head office for the free poor of Morovia. We are one.
And of course, if you're just joining me, this is the Colonel E. Remy Gray Show. Thanks for joining me. And tonight I'm looking at a menace that is rising up in the Liberian community, a political epoch. And that menace is no other but Henry Costa, who, as the song basically say, you're undermining our effort. We have an effort to replace the current menace we have in power under George Weah. So we have to have a united front. But when we have an individual who has gone rogue because of his own individual aggrandizement, such an individual must be contained. And let us go back into our production room and bring you this. Just a second here. Thank you. All right, so let's see if we can. Give me 1 second. I'll be able to bring the audio up. Bring the audio up. And let me play this audio. Just give me a minute. You're wondering why it's not playing right now, but give me a second.
As Henry P. Costa, not as chairman of the Council of Patriots. I have gone through too much. I am going through too much. And as a human being, I have decided that this is what I'm going to do. And it does not matter.
Give me a minute.
And
I'm still trying to. This is. Give me a minute.
As if I, Costa, am a threat to them. So therefore, convinced that they hate me, I have decided as a human being that I will not hate them back. But here is what I will not do. I, Henry Pedro Costa, do solemnly swear and promise on this 22nd day of April 2020 that I shall not support any opposition leader for president whose party has shown beyond doubt that it does not like me, that it hates me, that it tries to undermine the work that I do. I shall not support such a person for president. Let me repeat myself. I, Henry Pedro Costa, as an individual, my one vote, I shall not give it to any political leader whose party has adopted the agenda of fighting to destroy Henry Costa. I will not support you for president. In fact, I will use my gift. I will use my words. I will use my persuasive power to ensure that you do not become president. Let me repeat, anybody who has made it their business to seek my destruction, to seek my downfall, to celebrate my ordeals, to celebrate my struggles, to undermine the struggle to which we are committed, to which we have given so much, I want to assure you and inform you as of today that I shall do everything within my power to ensure that you do not become president of the Republic of Liberia. That is the promise that I make to you today. Because the work that I do does not benefit me personally. It benefits the people. And if you indeed love the people, you will support the work that I do, even if you do not like me. But to make me an enemy today and expect me to support you tomorrow, it shall not happen. Not even my political leader, Ben and Ayure, will convince me to support any political leader for president who has made it very clear that they do not like me. And if you want to be my enemy, bring it on. Bring it on if you want to be my enemy. I will fight you with everything that I've got in my name. Everything. I will fight you. You do not support my work, I do not support you for president. You support the work that we do, I support you for president. Simple. I don't want anything from you, but I will mobilize my people. Those who believe in me across the length and breadth of the country, I will mobilize them and we will fight you viciously and mercilessly. We will fight you to ensure that you do not become president of the country. So you have exposed yourselves. Beginning today, I call on all of my people, those of you who believe in me, all of the people who undermine us in their party. They are enemies of our struggle, and therefore I charge you, go eat food and repel them and fight them and let them know that we are stronger than them because we are the masses. If you think I'm joking, you will see. I unleash you to go forth. What is so much now? Eh? What did I do to you so much? You act like I hate y'all. Eh? What have I done to y'all? So, fire for fire. You will know the fire that I can warm my back with. Fire for fire. That is the promise that I make to you. If you don't support the work, my brother Dominic Musa, you know the discussion you and I had when we were in Accra. If you don't support the work that we do today for the Liberian people, the sacrifices that we make today, I assure you, I will fight you with everything that I've got. You will see. I will display no more timidity. I will show no more magnanimity. I will show fierceness and ruthlessness and callousness. And you will come to your senses. I shall beat sense into your heads. And you shall realize that the people stand with us because we stand with the people. When we were around since 8 years, fighting in the gutters and in the trenches, where were you? Today you come and you behave as though we are the enemy, and you work and you celebrate our due and you celebrate our struggle. I mean our problems that we face. We will fight you. So I call on all of you, my supporters, now. This is what we are going to do. We will fight any political leader, any political party. Whether you are in the CPP or not, we'll fight you and we'll seek to ensure that you do not become president of the republic. The agenda of the COP is the agenda of the Liberian people. And if you do not support that agenda, you cannot in the same breath claim to support the interests of the Liberian people. Therefore, we will fight you. We will fight you with everything that we've got. And if you think I'm joking, you better go back to 2017. You know what we can do. Thank you very much. God bless you and have yourselves a wonderful day. Be armed. Be ready because the battle has begun. We shall see who will remain standing. Thank you very much. God, this video. Here is the other thing I want to say. Some of you will not like what I'm about to say. But this is how I feel. This is the point where I have come. I've been pushed too much. This is the point where I have reached. And so I will tell you exactly how I feel. Brace yourself for what I'm about to say to you. I do not speak in the name of any organization. I do not speak in the name of the COP. I speak in my name.
Sorry, Chiku. All right, so I got a call that there was no sound. I am so sorry. I'd turned down the microphone audio. I mean the volume. I was just saying, if people sway into this broadcast because they feel that Henry Costa was live, this is the wrong broadcast, because in the next several months, my own effort would be to make Henry Costa. All right, so I got a call that there was. All right, sorry about this. My own effort here is to make sure that this menace called Henry Costa is eliminated within. When I say eliminated, I don't mean we'll kill him, but we'll stifle him, we'll suffocate him, because you know what? Henry Costa has declared against the Liberian people that anybody within the CPP who does not support his cause. Now, we don't know what causes that, because by now the cause of the Liberian people should be channeled through the CPP. Any individual, it means Henry Costa has his own cause. And I agree, anybody can come up with their own course. But why is somebody compelled to sustain or support your cause? Is where I don't get the logic. And for those of you who think that Henry Costa will ever become a president of the Republic of Liberia, you have a dream. Because you know what? If we can battle out a tyrant like Charles Taylor, President Doe, whoever they are, Henry Costa cannot rise up against the entire nation. He's just a kid. He's 30-some more years old. But you know, when this destructive instinct that I was talking about, that Martin Luther King described as the instinct of the destructive instinct, I've forgotten how he described it, but he calls it the John Major instinct. That instinct that is so destructive that nobody else matters. You could see the vicissitude in the man's face. You could see the spite, the anger, and that's a determined man. But you know what? Henry Costa carried on for so long and nobody paying any heed. So Henry Costa thinks that he's bigger than the Republic of Liberia. Oh no, he got some of us now to contend with. I faithfully accept his challenge. If he's going to be if he's going to be bringing down other individuals, oh yes, we will come and play that exact role. Play that exact role, and Henry Costa is no asset to the opposition community. My own personal declaration to him is that I accept his challenge, and every day I will do my research on him, and I will make sure that Henry Costa's life is miserable, because you know what? We have a bigger goal to sustain, and not the little goal of Henry Costa. That's why I refer to him as Little Henry, because the small boy Henry was who was speaking. That's the immature, the child that thinks that the entire lunchroom belongs to him. Other children should not eat from that lunchroom. Oh no, there's no way where you can have that destructive Henry Costa, that Thanatos Henry Costa, that John Major Henry Costa. There's no way you can have him anywhere and anybody lives peacefully. He's a reincarnation of Charles Taylor. And you know what? If Liberian people think that, oh, don't go after Costa because Costa is going against the government that we don't like, you are making a mistake. You should eliminate parallel. You know, us garrison commanders, we always look at where the next threat rising up. You think George Weah is much of a threat. You can contain George Weah because he does not have the capacity to speak back to a larger audience, but he has charisma. He appears, and once you see him, you probably will be able to work with him. But with Henry, you don't have to see him. You only have to listen to his voice. These are clerics who move an entire society into war, and then they sit back and watch when they unleash their own skill and passion. And you know what? I dare anyone to push him forward to go into a debate with Colonel Gray. Let him come. I've not just read one little portion and go on the air and expose that little portion. I react to anything academic. Naturally, I'm suited in that corridor. The moment you say something, I pick the flaws. I give you an antithesis, an opposite reaction to it. That's a skill that you don't acquire by reading few chapters and go sit down on the air and act like you're an academic. An academic that does not even have an AA degree. And he's not going to get it because, number one, the lady that was supposed to give him the status that he needs to go to school in the United States, by not paying his own money, and probably the state could even give him grant. But you have to have the status. Henry Costa does not have that status. So all the big show he's doing here, so his natural habitat should be the Republic of Liberia. But he has demonstrated so much callousness within the Republic till, he feels everyone is against him. Not a day I've heard Cummins making any comment about Henry Costa. Not a single day. He has not even demonstrated. In fact, Cummins is even confused as to where this sudden outburst enmity against him. He knew exactly that Costa had, tried to nuzzle his way, the usual cold way to extort money from him so that he can keep him silent. It's not coming through. It's not falling along that line. Like I said, people like Alexander Cummins, you don't intimidate them, not because of their size. They have bigger mind. They see you, even though you can be as tall. It takes a small axe to cut down a big tree. Alexander Cummins was set in the circle of giants and maneuvers his way. I may not agree with him on all circumstances, but you know what? The cause of liberating Liberia from the current misery we find ourselves, or it finds itself, is more bigger than my likeness or hateness or my affinity for any individual, including Alex Cummins. And that's why, when I started off few days ago, when I came down with that I accept Henry Costa's challenge to a media war, those platoons and little ones, ones that don't even, people who, I hate to be so callous about describing people's own misery, but people they will refer to as lost children in a civil war. The like of the Wensele, who probably find his way here to homes for disadvantaged children. He came here. But that kid is one of the most menaced kids in our society, in our midst. Extremely rude, very disrespectful. You understand? And this is a kid who has come here. By the time you take on your life, it is my right to have a live broadcast like any individual. That kid who came through what village in Liberia that was responsible for disadvantaged children, came here through their own whims and caprices, through their own assistance, has forgotten his trace, where he came from. You understand? All of these kinds of little people in our midst, they are helping to influence the society, exacerbate anger among Liberians. And I'll tell you what, people like Sekou Konelem, who trying to bring Liberians together, Sekou is one individual who set himself apart from identifying with any opposition. It's only bringing the entities together to have a conversation. That is a noble way of doing things. He's not doing that because he wants to cash out. Sekou would never, upon his own conscience, call anybody, say, give me money and then I will talk for you. Pay for play. Henry Costa is primarily the individual who is specialized in doing that. That is his role. If you can look at Sekou, because Sekou has developed his platform, he has been consistent, he has built it. He's going neck and neck. And Sekou is not even doing that because he wants to compete with Henry Costa. Sekou is doing that because this is his passion. This is what he wants to do. And anybody would like to see your work that you have put into something gaining momentum, fruit. Alex went to of course, Alex went to Sekou. So Sekou now is a competitor. Sekou is an enemy. You understand? Sekou is an enemy. Sekou should not have his own opinion anymore. He should not decide who to bring on his show. No, Henry Costa must be the one to tell who goes on Sekou's show. This is how destructive this young man is. But people think Henry Costa is an asset to the Republic of Liberia. No, Henry Costa is a replica of Charles Taylor. It's the flip side. Back in the days, those LP records, they used to have one side with all the tracks, and then the flip side is just some a less that's like the flip side is like the raw data without mixing anything in there, like instrument to sensitize the music to make it more to give it more beats. So this Henry Costa right now is the unpolished one of Charles Taylor. Unpolished in the sense that Charles Taylor had contact. He was older, or he's older, and so he has gone to work and build a large circle of influence for himself, even though it fell apart. And I believe Charles Taylor was part of the CIA and all of these kinds of entities. This man, the only thing Costa depends on was his platform. And you know what? They closed the platform because he was operating illegally. And people will wonder, why would Remy want to say that? Why would Remy want to talk about Henry Costa's platform was operating illegally? Well, if someone shows me, if someone can show me that he had a license to operate. You see, when you choose to fight against a sitting government, make sure everything of yours checks out. So they did not quiet him as he's claiming, we've lost this. You've been in the struggle 8 years and then you're making noise. Out of those 8 years, 8 freaking years, you were extorting money from people. You benefited. Some of us went to Bela just for trying to help the opposition community when we were in uniform. And in the process, we were caught. That's an executable offense in the military. I could have been killed. I could have been executed for doing that, just for the opposition. You're talking about 8 years? Do you know how long some of us have fought for this tranquility that we have now? You think you occasioned it? You did nothing for the Republic of Liberia but your pocket. Absolutely not. Henry Costa did not do anything to. He was a child when the war started. I feel maybe Henry Costa may, in his upbringing, might have been exposed to some violence that got him so crazy. Because mentally he's not stable. And for the likes of you who think that this is a good person to work with, it wouldn't take you any time to find out the real Henry Costa. Once you get closer, it's a mirage. You fire away, you see the water floating. When you get closer, no water. This man who professes to be this stalwart, that can take against an entire sitting government, does not have it. You can stand it. You can be somebody who harasses and intimidates and extort from people, and you cry over the smallest thing that happened. People don't like me. I wonder, who are the people? Who are the people? When we had the opposition fostering unity through the CPP, was Henry Costa, who out of nowhere started going against nobody but Alex Cummings. This last broadcast was targeted to Alex Cummings. Nobody else, not Buckeye, not Benayu, and not even Yomle Kanga. Does not even have Yomle Kanga in his back radar. He was referring to Alexandra Cummings. He has made a declaration, and we will meet him through that declaration. He has declared war in the media, And we will not relent. So when people calling some of us to say, stop, stop, stop what? You need to go back to Henry Costa. The two Henry Costa, look for the good Henry Costa, leave the bad one, talk to the good Henry Costa. You understand? To begin to think that the cause of liberating Liberia from the current misery of President Weah is bigger than his own personal ego and lining his pocket. When you have reached that level in life, you should be able now to begin to think constructively to bring your country out of the dungeon of misery. If you're advantaged, put people in an advantaged position. Don't disadvantage people. Don't try to make people run out of their own country again. It took one person, one crazy guy who came in and damaged our 100 and some more years old republic simply because he wanted self-wealth, he wanted power, he wanted everything to be for Charles Taylor. Rewind or fast forward, we've had the same individual erupting in our society gradually. Look, let me tell you something. If Mr. George Weah will go against Henry Costa, it will be a good thing for the Republic of Liberia, because people like Costa, you do not need them in your environment, because these are the individuals that will send us running again over our borders. These are the individuals, and anybody who thinks that Henry Costa was a good thing that happened to Liberia, I will ask you that you are angry because you are angry at President Weah. Weah will go away. Move Weah from the bracket. Bring Ellen back. Henry was angry with Ellen. Well, people will say Ellen was corrupt. Ellen was this, Ellen was that. But remove any of those two individuals. Think about people who are not even there. If he's coming against somebody like Alexander Cummings, you can bring the Pope, you can get Jesus. The destructive Henry Costa will go against any of those individuals, because for him, it should be for him, not for others. And people will say, but what's wrong with that? But you know what? Societies are not meant for one people or an individual. Societies are meant for collective people. The Liberian nation deserves Liberia, not one individual whose father is a Portuguese trader that migrated to Liberia, a white man that came to do trading. He claims to be a Congoman. Who made him Congoman? Under who? His mother, I understand, is from the Pele tribe. Which Congo origin is he claiming? The man who came from Portugal is a Congo man? Who's his what is his heritage to be claiming to the Congo people? These are all subtle ways to find himself in a class of people that probably are anti against the rest of the Liberian nation. Because you know what? Let me tell you, when a particular tribe rules a country from day one to up to 130 years, that ethnic group feels they have a claim to that country, and they should. But to think that nobody else must be but them, that is where it's troubling. And this is where Henry is trying to, the son of a Portuguese trader, trying to claim that he's a Congoman. What make you Congoman? Why are you claiming such an origin that you have no clue? I'm a Congoman. And folks would buy all of these kinds of divisive rhetorics. And I will say that we will continue to dig behind Henry Costa. Firstly, one of the first things, if he returns to Liberia, they should ask him whether he declared. They should ask him whether he declared his citizenship, whether he renounced his father's citizenship when he was 18. If he did not do that, Henry Costa will have to apply for naturalization. That's what the law says. We didn't make that law. Founding fathers of the nation made that law. Until we repeat that law, It's a law. If he shares a Caucasian blood from a father, non-Negro blood, from a father who was a migrant in or immigrant in Liberia, he, Henry Costa, will have to declare at age 18. If he hasn't done so, he has to go to a court to show probable reason why he should be Liberian citizen. That's what our law says. And you may not like this. You may not like to hear this. That's why I say if you swear into this broadcast thinking that it was a pro-Henry Costa, you are the wrong platform. I've got nothing against Henry Costa. Now I do. Because he has declared war upon an organization that a good decent number of Liberians fostered, the Alternative National Congress. He claimed to have been to be in the presence of the foundation of the organization. He played no role. No money, nobody was sharing money in the ANC, so Henry will not stay in no kinds of organization. He left. It's gaining momentum now. Now he wants a sizable portion in. But you know what? Who cares? Who cares what other Liberians think? And I like the way how social media exists. If somebody harasses you for making your opinion known, you block them. Simple. You don't have to even make noise about it. That is not the definition of being tolerant. The definition of being tolerant is I must exist, you exist, and we'll compete with our ideas. You don't come harassing me and you expect that I will keep you, I don't have any right to keep you harassing me. I can find a way to end the harassment. That's why I love social media. They made it known that if you don't feel comfortable with someone who keeps popping up like a pop-up, browser, you block them. But you know what? Or unfriend them. And I can tell you, this war that Henry Costa has declared, that some of us are responding to now, will make Henry Costa look like a child. Look like a child. And we'll find anyone. We'll make the video, we'll make short video, we'll make sound bites, we'll do everything possible to make sure that Henry Costa is tamed. Right now, I consider him to be a loose cannon. A loose cannon. Who goes around looking at anybody that does not support his cause. Who are you for people to support your cause? Who am I to be telling that if you don't support my cause, I'm against you. I'll do everything possible. Is that how life's supposed to be? For God's sake, is that how life's supposed to be? The decency of life is you must exist, I exist. We'll coexist. Uniformity of cause. You have a reason to exist. I have a reason to exist. But our existence must unify for us to form a union, a bond, a natural bond. You can't force people to form a bond with you because you want them to line your pocket. He's out of school now. Remember when he was mounting pressure when he was leaving Liberia before they chased him out of there? He was expecting that by the time he got into America, there would be money in his pocket from Alexander Cummings. Alex is not yielding to his his harassment. So he has naturally, now you see the vicissitude in the man's face. He has resorted to that destructive Henry Costa that will make sure that, okay, if you don't give me the money that I want, I will come after you. That's what all that broadcast is all about. It has nothing to do because now one day have you seen Cummings taking the airwave condemning Henry. Not one day. Now I've never said anything against him. But it is that quiet ambition that Cummings has not fallen to the will and caprices of me, Henry Costa, the media giant, the guy with the largest following. He has not fallen to that. So Henry has vaingloriously come out of his shadow now. He, if possible, use fist fight. If possible, Henry Costa will actually try to back someone just so he can be hurt, can be you can pay attention to him. And these kinds of individuals, like going around and forming, how can you form political organization? You can't even pull with 2 or 3 members within your rank and file. You can't. The single unit at home, most of us keep relationship. As much as we're there politically, we're out there. We keep relationship because it's coexistence. You cannot even keep a wife home. You go and establish a small organization, you're driving everybody away. You don't have the skill because the destructive Henry will never give you a chance. That's the one you should go and seek medical attention for, that destructive Henry, so that you can come back to the normal Henry. That is the bulk of society. The society that encourages people who are level-headed. You are crazy, schizophrenic. You hear voices. People are against me. They're coming after me. That's the destructive gene that is dominant in you, that you need to go and cure. Henry should be committed to a psychological ward, psychiatrist ward, to cure that destructive Henry. If not, it will disturb him till the end of his life. Because you know what? It does not, you don't have to go after Henry. If he tries to come at you to line his pocket and you refuse, that will be a cause for the destructive Henry to show up. And when you see Henry yelling and blabbing like a child, like the biggest baby, it's not because somebody came up at him. It's because nobody is paying attention to him. And for him, that's not who he is. That is not his biological makeup. And that's the portion of him that needs to be cured. Unless you cure that portion, Henry will never sustain or live in any society with tranquility. He cannot. He cannot. He cannot. And in the next several weeks, people would get turned away. People would not like to watch this. I could care less. As long as the war is aimed at this man, this destructive man. Oh, nothing hurt me. Nothing hurt me. Like when he went after Kabina Jane and destroyed the man, and then when the opposition gained the upper hand, they call him, give him their money, then he's trying to resurrect Kabina Jane. It was late. He has destroyed the man. He has destroyed our democracy, the lonely voice we had there. Look, Kabina Jane may not have been the most moral person within the upper court, which is the Supreme Court. He may not have been the most the most civil justice. He may not have been the most upright justice, but he was a voice that dissented when bad things were going to happen to to the rest of the citizens. Because of this guy's own self-aggrandizement, I will put all those videos together so you can see how he went after Kabina Jane. Brought the man down flat. The man was so tormented that, excuse me, Kabina Jane was so tormented that people that he had disagreement with, like Cephas, who because of Kabina Jane lost his license at some point to practice. Kabina even was looking up to Cephas for assistance. Henry Costa brought Kabina Jane down to the ground. When Kabina Jane finally gained his support by bribing him, it was late. His foot was out the door. Fast forward, come to the old man Buckeye. Or rewind, go to Buckeye. Old man Buckeye had made his case. I was parking in the garage. That's the Liberian way of relating to people that, look, I was the abandoned car in the garage. I was not part of all that money, that dividing money or corrupting the state. I was never part of that. He demonstrated humility, obedience. He sold his case to the Liberian people, and people bought that. People got that. We had this guy who was difficult to beat because of his own popularity, and the generation of voters can relate to popularity through soccer. So it's a phenomenon that is very difficult to beat. The old man had gained the attention of the older people. Liberians who are reasonable enough, when I say reasonable, well, not that the other group are not reasonable, but they are the parents of the larger voting bloc. Naturally, my parents should be level enough than me because they have seen life. Life is not only about education, it's about your experience growing up, your lived experience. Education is included. This guy went after this old man. Damaged the old man down to the oh man, it was so difficult for those sound bites to leave the voters' ears. He damaged him to, I'm telling you, when Henry is not paid, when this mafia, this media mafia is not paid, that's why he has cleverly told people that he's not a journalist. Well, you're a broadcaster. If you're a broadcaster, someone who uses a platform to broadcast and correlate information, disseminate them. Whether you want to call yourself journalist or broadcaster, you are one or the other. He has cleverly said he's not a journalist because journalists are subject to rules and regulations. This is a loose cannon. This is a renegade. This is a guy who wants to have his own way. He wants to have his cake and eat it. That's who he is. That's why he came up cleverly and said, I'm not a journalist. And I hear people around here using the same analogy. I'm not a journalist. If you broadcast on a regular basis, you establish a platform. By virtue of that, you're a journalist. You have a medium. The word journal is simply a medium to broadcast, to reach out to audience. So that's one way that, somebody with the wisdom would not have even made those kind of proclamation because he's limited. Now, I always tell people that you think Henry Costa is sophisticated. No, he's not. He's extremely limited because he does not have the ability to weigh his actions. He reacts. Instinctually, the destructive thing we say, people are against you. Voices. Oh yeah, they're against you. They don't like you. And set a good reason why the destructive Henry will come out ablaze, like he was demonstrating on that video. And that's not the only video. You understand? So this individual went to work, destroyed the old man. Look, in that gone election, some of us may not have been supporting the old man, may not have been supporting him. But anything other than George Weah was better. Anything other than George Weah. The old man, people will say he's tribalistic, but you know what? There's not a single individual you find who does not have some quality that others may not disagree with. Not a single being in this world. He may have been tribalistic, but I think he had a good heart to have seen that Liberia at least transgress from what it was. People may want to blame him for not agreeing to Madame Sirleaf when she was looking for protection. Those are all the destructive individuals within our society. There's a destructive Ellen Johnson Sirleaf who thinks only about herself. That same quality is what Henry Costa shares. You understand? There are selfless people like the Joe Buckeye who probably, may pay homage to his own community. But the larger character that dominates in people like Joe Buckeye is the good character that will say, you know what? The larger society is there. They got conscience. Destructive characters don't have conscience. They don't care. They only think about themselves at that moment. That's who Ellen is. That's who Charles Taylor is. That's who Henry Costa has become within our own political epoch. And when you see me coming after him, it's because of that. You know, I sat far and I saw Taylor coming. We allow him to destroy our lives. George Weah, I believe in the long run, he might just say, you know what? I can sustain this weight. He has the quality that will just put everything down and leave us. So that's a lesser force to contend with. Because eventually George will say, you know what, I think I've acquired enough. I want to go back and enjoy my life. I'm still younger. Eventually he will let it go. The only people holding him there are those around him that still want to amass to ensure their own future. But by himself, Mr. Weah eventually will leave us. And I believe if you press on harder, he will let go. But people like the Henry Costa, you will literally have to raise an army of 1 million to get rid of those kinds of people. Because you know what? By himself, he has the skill to change public opinion. That is a good skill to have. People will say you're articulate. But you know, in our country, articulation is the ability to talk plenty, to gain attention. And most of us, we're kinetic. We see action. We don't even need to hear the audio or the letter. We don't need to hear it. We just need to see action. We'll begin to pay attention to that action. That's exactly what he commends. This is why when he comes on, a lot of people see Henry Costa, they're going there for the action. But could such an individual actually redeem the Republic of Liberia from the current misery? It is a big no. Because he does not have the fortitude, he does not have the selflessness, he does not have even the ambition to share. Remember now, this is an individual who could not share with the wife he had. That relationship lasted for a very short time. Yeah, you may say people always divorce in relationship. But I want to believe that if the same woman that Henry Costa left, she probably may not have anything to do with Jefferson Koji. She's just there. Maybe she got business to run. She got other personal things. But for her to be visible with Koji sends a bigger message that I will get back to you. Some people, especially ladies, when you see people become so bitter after a divorce, it is something they're trying to put out. It is their own who are fighting back. And this particular lady left Henry Costa. If glorification, loomed over Henry Costa that much, I don't think any woman would want to leave him. But there was something more treacherous, more difficult to put up with Henry Costa in the same space. The woman had to leave. Who knows? Schizophrenic personalities will wake up in the night and say somebody attacking me. If you don't be careful, they will end your life. Remember the green man, the bionic man, the guy who used to turn green and then he goes haywire. And then eventually he comes back after everything returns to normality and he says, who did all this destruction? No, that's you. You look at the man with the vicissitude, saliva coming everywhere from his mouth to tell you that I am extremely angry. That's the destructive guy. And you know what? As long as we live, he has declared a war upon the Alternative National Congress. And I want to tell people that my membership with the Alternative National Congress, consider me a Tea Party. I take cue from nobody. I take command from no one. And I will build a Tea Party within the Alternative National Congress to put constructs in place. I will do that. And I'm doing that gradually. We established a Tea Party within the Alternative National Congress. Remember the Republican establishment? When people thought the Bushes owned the Republican establishment and so many other big names, the Tea Party was formed to actually put an end to that. And there's the need for a Tea Party within the Alternative National Congress. Nobody's going to call me to tell me to stop. Because Henry Costa, and people say don't give Henry Costa relevance. What do you mean? The same individual who goes to watch him, is that not relevance? You go to watch him. That means you are giving him the relevance that he's looking for. That instinctive relevance. Me first. That me first attitude. Me and me only. You go there to sustain, to fend that particular ambition. And then now, meanwhile, you tell them don't give. Henry Costa is relevant. You have to go against the relevance to bring him down. So that he can see that other people have the right to live without making consultation with him. Anybody in the Republic of Liberia who should lead the country must not have to consult anybody to give them the right of way. They will have to build the necessary correlation. If one person goes against you vociferously, besmirching your character and maligning you, that individual is a target that you should politically try to eliminate, not killing them. I want to make this clear. You don't have to kill anybody. But you know what? If a person understands that there is equal fighting power, and people will say, but what's the difference between ANC and CDC? Well, if CDC is the kind of political establishment that does not sit and people eat their lunch from them, take advantage of them, now that's a good quality to have. Then the ANC is the CDC. Because you know what? As a political organization, you must have a fight back power. I saw the UP. They had people like the Jackson. You understand? The Baka Jalabas, the people who were fighting back against people who were coming at them. You should have that construct, that mechanism within a political organization. Because there will be the destructive Henry Costas that will come at you. And you know what? We condone him for so long. It's going 2 years now. Cummings has not fallen to him. Cummings has not subdue himself to him. It's getting to the point where he has filtered into anger, outbursts. But we need to put that coalition together. And the Tea Party of the Alternative National Congress will take that role. So that you can say, this is what Cummings would have wanted. This is what... When the Tea Party of the Republican establishment came into being, they didn't care what the Bush wanted. That's exactly what they formed themselves for, to go against one group of people dominating a political establishment that should be nationally owned by everybody. The Alternative National Congress is a national instrument for all Liberians wishing to pursue their political ambition. It should not be owned by a group of people. And believe me, if Alex Cummings become this Lord of Lords, the Tea Party within the ANC will tame him, will size him up. That's why, probably people will come and say, but you're not in the leadership, you don't know. If I want to be in the middle of the leadership of the ANC, I am. But I will have to be the silent voice that will tame the party to against people establishing themselves as the owner of the party. I can't do that in ALP. It's owned by the URAs. The Unity Party, you can tell there is a broad spectrum of individuals. The Liberty Party used to be almost like this Bassa movement. Maybe Bromskin is gone now, but they put another Bassa person there. So you begin to see the difference. We don't want the Alternative National Congress to be that way. That was not why it was formed. That was not why we came together and put the Alternative National Congress in place. It was not to be dominated by one group of people. When you see me, I don't play a dominant role in leadership, it's because I'm beginning to watch whether this is where we're leaning. because you have to have someone that will stay back. So when the entire group is compromised, that the entire group that move forward, they're compromised. At least you have a fight back mechanism, and that mechanism is the Tea Party, and that's what I am going to be building eventually within the Alternative National Congress. We will be the group of individuals within the ANC that will tame the establishment from becoming owned by a few people. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll go back and play what Martin Luther King has said. I have gone in excess of 2.5 hours on this broadcast, and so let me go back and bring you what the Reverend Martin Luther King said about the John Major instinct. The John Major instinct is something that you need to read. If you can find ways to read, please do that, about John Major instinct.
This morning I would like to use as a subject from which to preach the drum major instinct. A desire to be out front, a desire to lead the parade, a desire to be first. It is something that runs the whole gamut of life. We all want to be important, to surpass others, to achieve distinction, to lead the parade. Alfred Adler, the great psychoanalyst, contends that this is the dominant impulse, this quest for recognition, this desire for attention, this desire for distinction.
Some of you will not like
basic impulse. And you know, we began early to ask life to put us first. Our first cry as a baby was a bid for attention. Children ask life to grant them first place. They are a little bundle of ego. Now, in adult life, we still have it, and we really never get by it. We like to do something good, and you know, we like to be praised for it. Now, if you don't believe that, you just go on living life, and you will discover very soon that you like to be praised. Everybody likes it, as a matter of fact. And somehow this warm glow we feel when we are praised or when our name is in print is something of the vitamin A to our ego. A need that some people have to feel superior. And I would submit to you this morning that what is wrong in the world today is that the nations of the world are engaged in a bitter, colossal contest for supremacy. I must be first. I must be supreme. Our nation must rule the world. This perverted use of the drum major instinct led to the most tragic prejudice, the most tragic expressions of man's inhumanity to man. And the sun doesn't happen to stop this trend. I'm sorely afraid that we won't be here to talk about Jesus Christ and about God and about brotherhood too many more years. If somebody doesn't bring an end to this suicidal thrust that we see in the world today, none of us are going to be around. I am sad to say that the nation in which we live is the supreme culprit. And I'm going to continue to say it to America, because I love this country too much to see the drift that it has taken. And we won't stop it because of our pride and our arrogance as a nation. But God has a way of even putting nations in that place. If God that I worship has a way of saying, don't play with me. And if you don't stop your reckless course, I'll rise up and break the backbone of your power. And that can happen to America. If any of you are around when I have to meet my day, I don't want a long funeral. And if you get somebody to deliver the eulogy, tell them not to talk too long. Tell them not to mention that I have a Nobel Peace Prize. That isn't important. I'd like somebody to mention that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving others. I'd like for somebody to say that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody. I want you to be able to say that day that I did try to feed the hungry. I want you to be able to say that day that I did try in my life to clothe those who were naked. I want you to say on that day that I did try in my life to visit those who were in prison. I want you to say that I tried to love and serve humanity. Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. I was a drum major for righteousness. And all of the other shallow things will not matter. Then my living will not be in vain.
All right, that's of course the voice of the late Dr. Martin Luther King talking of the drum major instinct, that impulsive instinct in the human mentality that cries for quest to be put first over everything. And just a minute. So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, this will conclude the end of my broadcast today. I will be coming back to you. It may not be as long as Sunday. It may be midweek, and try to continue to prosecute this war in the media that Henry Costa has declared upon the ANC and in the establishment of the ANC and our political, our opposition politicking. When an individual single-handedly thinks that everything that goes on within the opposition should be channeled through them, and that individual must be countered. And if that individual continues to go after people who stand a better chance of winning, because that's his target. His target right now is who is probably who has a chance to be part of a collaboration. You know, one thing we can always come to is to be able to talk to probably somebody like Alex Cummings to say, hey, see if you can merge with the old man. Doesn't have much to do in our politicking, but he's somebody to collaborate with in whatever way, get things done. But if you destroy the only hope, which is the individuals like the Alex Cummings, the old man Buckeye, you understand, individuals who probably could form a very collaborative ticket and remove the menace we currently have. If one individual single-handedly destroy those kinds of people, that individual is no different from Charles Taylor, who destroyed an entire republic of ours, sending us helter-skelter. Because when the political will of a nation is damaged, that nation is an empty vessel floating, on sea. This young man has the capacity of destroying the Republic of Liberia through the opposition, hoping that Liberians will turn to him as the guy to succeed Mr. Weir. I have nothing wrong with that. But if he fosters his own goal without damaging people who also have the same ambition, destroy them, and then in turn will not even meet the the requirement of leading an opposition against Mr. Weir, that individual must be discouraged. Let us not forget that in recent time, Henry contested. To tell you that the voice on the radio, the voice on the media is not the same as truncating that into political gains. Why was Henry's own? He ran to a relatively unknown individual. He lost. People will say, well, that was then. But this was as recent as 2017. Let's not forget. Recent as 2017. Men lost. 2014. Henry Costa has been around for some time trying to think that he has the Powerball. He has the 8-ball, as we say on the pool table. He has the winning ball. No, he doesn't. Because you know what? He doesn't have what George Weir has. He doesn't have what Alex has. He doesn't have that. That spirit to collaborate with other people, he does not have. Because anywhere he goes, he will talk down on people. If you watch Henry on his program, people who are there trying to, on the same team, they're helping to build a platform. The Fidels, the this, the that, even Woods was there. Wood left. Because Henry Costa literally destroyed Woods' humanity. This is the kind of individual you think will come. I see people forming gangs here and there. And I believe my friend, what's his name? Caleb Ogonglo was calling me to tell me not to do this. Because you know what? We are too conciliatory in our country. If we had nibbed Charles Taylor, in the bud when he started, we could not have destroyed our country. This is how people come up, they rise up against nation. They feel so untouched, so powerful, they go on to leash their own individual instinct upon an entire nation, and then we all lose. Henry Costa, number one, I would like to know how he lives here. If he lives here illegally, we're going to be going after that as well. He's supposed to be in school. Supposed to have a student visa. You know, when someone say they want to fight you, you fight them with tooth and nail. And I can tell you, I will begin to dig now as far as how he lives here. If he's one of those illegal people who live here, then definitely we should bring that to book. Because you know what? We're at war. He's not our friend anymore. Henry Costa is not our friend. If he lives in the United States illegally, he's supposed to be in school. If he's not in school, and at the end of his student visa, he should leave. He should leave. And when he gets to the Republic of Liberia, he should be questioned why he should be a Liberian. Because his father is a Caucasian. By virtue of our law, he should have declared at age 18. He's 30-someone now, maybe 37. If he had not declared 18 years ago, then he should show us probable cause why he should even carry a Liberian passport. You want to make the life of other people miserable? You know, the enemy is not somebody you decide how to treat. You treat them with tooth and nail. You meet them at their own track and stop them there. And I hope the Weir administration is listening. If Henry Costa goes back, he should show probable cause why he should carry a Liberian passport. And if he cannot show probable cause, you strip him out of Liberian passport and send him back to Portugal, because there where he belongs. Until he can show reason why he should carry Liberian citizenship, Henry Costa should be questioned. Here, if he's here legally, hey, this is a free country. But if he's here illegally, in the next few weeks, we'll be digging behind him to know his exact status. Henry wants to fight. He wants to fight. He's powerful. He got the biggest platform. He will use that platform to convince the American government why he should stay here. Maybe he has applied for political asylum. because that's why probably he went to Liberia, staged the moment that he was being chased. It could be. If he gets political asylum, hey, that's good reason. But we will even try to see if we can get some of the record to see what contained in those political asylum in that application. If he embellished, if he lied, that is a deportable offense. That's perjury. Anyone wants to fight, we will fight. Have a good day, fellow Liberians.